He was the last man on Earth, a god-tier triple S ranker who stared down the Demon King and chose mutual destruction. But death wasn't the end. He snaps open his eyes 10 years in the past, trapped in the weakling body that bullies used for target practice. This time, though, it's different. He didn't just carry over his memories, he booted up a cheat code, the gluttony system. While other heroes spend years grinding, our guy literally eats a demon boss and pockets him as his ultimate trump card. The pretentious student council glances at his pathetic D rank and writes him off as a complete nobody. But when our boy gets his turn, he unleashes a storm of purgatory energy so savage it completely incinerates the testing machine. The result? An error message. His potential is literally off the charts. The name is Return of the Devourer, and things are just getting started. It's the year 2167, and humanity is officially on the brink of extinction. The demon race has conquered every last corner of the globe. The game is over, and our boy is the final player left in the server. As a triple S rank lightning assassin, he's endured 7 agonizing years watching demon kings terraform the world into their personal hellscape. One of these colossal freaks is hovering over him right now, delivering a classic villain speech about how humans are worthless trash. The Demon King declares it's time to turn our hero into a power-up smoothie for his army. As the demon unleashes a torrent of crimson lightning, our hero doesn't just brace for impact. He sees visions of his sister, his mentor, and every soul he watched these monsters tear apart. He makes a vow. If this is his final act, he's dragging this overgrown lizard to hell, right along with him. He triggers a scale terminus art, and in an instant, the Demon King realizes he's completely paralyzed. Our hero erupts in a blinding neon glow, and with one last apology to his family for not being strong enough, he unleashes it all. He completely obliterates the Demon King, who spends his final moments absolutely furious that a mere human managed to log him out permanently. As everything fades to black, his only wish is to rewind time and fix his mistakes. Suddenly, he jolts awake in a hospital bed with a shattered nose and a splitting headache. He looks out the window at a city that isn't a smoldering crater, and realizes he just pulled off the ultimate time heist, jumping back a full decade. While he's trying to process his return to the year 2157, a system window materializes right in front of his face. The power of gluttony integration is complete. This is 3 years before the world actually ended. He remembers it all started with a demon king named Ruff, the one who first ripped open the gates of hell. If he can just eliminate that first boss, he can stop the apocalypse before it ever begins. He stares at the game-like menu, wondering why he suddenly has a status window when he used to run on nothing but pure, raw skill. In this world, only one person in 10,000 ever awakens powers, and he's currently a student at an academy for these potential heroes. The only problem is, in his original timeline, he was a total nobody who couldn't awaken his abilities for 4 straight years. He was at the absolute bottom of the social ladder, serving as everyone's favorite punching bag. He scans his new stats and a grin spreads across his face. He's still a lightning assassin, but he's ported over all his insane strength and skills from the future. Before he can even think about testing his newfound power, his college roommate wanders in. This 4-eyed sidekick was a bottom-of-the-barrel awakener who got wiped out almost instantly when the invasion first began. The roommate is floored to see our hero looking perfectly fine after the absolute beatdown he received yesterday. He even comments that our guy seems stronger, which gets a nostalgic smile. Our hero is just relieved to see a human face that isn't trying to eat him. His glasses-wearing friend reminds him that their rank evaluation test is tomorrow. As they cut through the training fields, our hero knows he needs to power level and fast. But there's a huge roadblock. The government and the top guilds have a total monopoly on all the monster spawning zones. That's why most students are hard stuck at E rank, but our hero knows he's already in a completely different dimension from his friend. Their conversation is rudely cut short when a ball cannons off the roommate's face. A squad of 4 bullies materializes, led by some guy who acts like he's the star of his own trashy teen drama. The 4-eyed roommate starts trembling immediately, offering to buy them all drinks just for the crime of standing too close to them. Our hero, however, has officially retired from his career as a victim. He calmly tells his roommate that he has nothing to be sorry for, and that these clowns are the ones who owe them an apology. The scene cuts to the past, where our guy was little more than a living doormat for this same crew of bargain bin thugs. With zero creativity, these losers thought it was peak comedy to shove his face into a fountain and treat him like a literal rag doll. While his terrified friend could only stammer and beg them to stop, the lead bully just laughed it off. He actually claimed he was doing our hero a favor, trying to help him awaken his dormant powers. After a brutal play session, our hero was left completely out cold, face down in the filth. His tormentors just wandered off, having grown tired of their favorite punching bag. It's in this crushing moment that a new reality dawns on him. He realizes that true bottomless cruelty isn't just a fairy tale for demon realms. It thrives in the hearts of the absolute worst of humanity. Fast forward to the present, and the very same wannabe villain is still spouting nonsense. But our protagonist's supply of patience has officially run dry. When the goon demands, he repeat himself. Our guy doesn't even flinch. He calmly states that they've got it all wrong, and that the bullies are the ones who should start rehearsing their apologies. The main bully cackles as if he's just heard the most hilarious thing in his life. This dude's only claim to fame is that his older brother runs the student council, and he clearly believes that family connection is a free pass to be a public menace. He winds up a haymaker, confident it'll be a one-hit KO, but our lightning hero casually bats it aside, like he's swatting a lazy housefly. The surrounding students absolutely lose it. Seeing the campus punching bag finally push back was definitely not on today's agenda. The bully is seeing red, screaming that our hero is just a pathetic. Unawakened, nobody but our guy is just casually scrolling through his system alerts as if they were a text message. He activates his electric assassin class, and the air around him begins to crackle with enough raw voltage to power a small town. The low-rent antagonist tries to puff out his chest by activating a skill called Indestructible Demon Armor, which to be honest has a much cooler name than its actual appearance. It's basically the magical version of strapping on a cardboard box and calling yourself a fortress. He lunges in for the final blow, but our hero is already a universe ahead of him, moving in a motion blur. With a single solid punch to the face, our lightning wielder launches the bully across the courtyard like a human-sized piece of trash. His glasses-wearing roommate just stands there, his jaw practically unhinged, probably wondering if he's reading an entirely different story now. The bully, now one with the pavement, tries to talk tough, screaming at his minions to jump in, but his little backup squad is too busy quaking in their shoes. They can feel the sheer power rolling off our protagonist, and they want zero part of the beatdown that's about to unfold. Our hero yanks the leader up by his arm, calls him utterly pathetic, and then lands another hit that sends the guy crashing through a solid brick wall, causing the rest of the crew to scatter like roaches. Once the dust settles, our hero takes a moment to assess the situation. He figures out that even at level 1, the stats from his future self are overkill for these E-rank losers, whose glory days are long behind them. But there's a nagging detail that's bugging him. He just mopped the floor with a high-profile punk, yet his experience gauge hasn't budged one bit. He glances down at his palm, summoning a blade forged from pure shimmering electricity. A dark thought begins to surface. What if the only way to actually get stronger in this world is to start ending lives, not just winning fights? The look in his eyes is cold enough to give you frostbite, and the terrified students are starting to get it. The school's biggest joke might just be their newest and most terrifying threat. It seems that if you want to progress in this world, you might have to be willing to get your hands dirty. Just as our Lightning Lord is about to permanently banish this wannabe villain from the server, a blonde girl with a pixie cut jumps in to play the role of hero. She's the student council vice president, and she lays down the law that this is a school, not some underground fight ring. She argues that the punishment he's delivered is already way over the top, and guarantees the crew won't bother him ever again. She's clearly acting like she's doing him a huge service, but he just shoves the bully aside like a bag of old garbage. He turns and leaves without giving her a single glance, because he gets that people like them only back down when they're genuinely scared. A simple warning from the student council isn't about to fix their rotten personalities. Meanwhile, the rest of the goons are cowering behind a corner. Having seen that, the expression on our hero's face was genuinely terrifying. Later, back in the dorm room, the glasses-wearing friend is in full hype man mode. He's yelling to his other roommates that the school's resident victim has finally awakened, as some kind of overpowered lightning assassin. He's going on and on about how our protagonist absolutely demolished the head bully, but the other two roommates are completely skeptical. One of them, a nuclear mage, is too absorbed in flexing his own unimpressive biceps, while the other, a tech geek, just assumes his friend has finally lost his mind. The mage roommate is utterly convinced that he's the only one with a real combat class in the dorm, especially since our hero is just outside running laps instead of showing off. He thinks he's a hotshot just for a chance at joining a school club, completely oblivious to the fact that the guy he's mocking. He's trash-talking some kid who could probably end his entire bloodline with a single cough. Then we cut to a demonic den, and who emerges? The student council president, the older brother of the same bully, our MC, just completely bodied. He steps out of the zone absolutely drenched in monster guts where his bandaged-up little bro is waiting. The kid is bawling about getting humiliated and is practically begging for a revenge tour. The president just calmly agrees to deal with it. Yeah, this entire family is clearly a train wreck. Later, over some bougie steak dinner, the blonde vice president calls him out, claiming he's hoarding all the school's top-tier talent. She spells it out. Normal students don't have a prayer of catching up to him because he completely gatekeeps access to the monster zones, the classic elite playbook. While the 1%ers are feasting on expensive meat, our hero is grinding it out in a torrential downpour with 100 kilograms strapped to his back. He understands that his physical form must be forged into a fortress of steel if he's going to handle the god-tier power coming from his future self. His focus is lasered in on the year 2160, the exact time the Demon King Ruff is prophesied to unleash the apocalypse and slaughter his only living family member. He's fiercely determined to erase that monster before the gates of hell can even creak open. In the middle of this brutal workout, he gets a call from his sister. She's buzzing with energy going on about a competition she entered and how she's about to fix their rent issues with the prize money. Our hero is practically shaking just from the sound of her voice, especially since the last time he heard it, he was watching her die. He rushes to promise her that this time things are different, but inside he's swearing a blood oath to drag himself through the deepest pits of hell, if that's what it takes to keep her safe this time. After conquering his midnight marathon, our boy finally drags his exhausted body back to the dorm for a shower and some shut-eye. He's still stressing about how he's supposed to grind levels when the major guilds have every monster lair on lockdown. But the instant he closes his eyes, a crimson system window flickers to life. He doesn't wake up in bed the next morning. Instead, he finds himself standing before a colossal and nightmarish tower that seems ripped from another reality. Looks like the gluttony system is finally about to show him exactly how he'll get his payback. He has barely a moment to wonder if he's just sleepwalking through a nightmare before a pack of skeletal abominations decide to make him their next meal. Our boy treats these trash-tier mobs like a light, stretching exercise, deleting them from existence, and watching his level instantly jump to 2. The realization hits him, this place is his own private solo dungeon, where every stat point he earns is multiplied by 5, a literal gamer's paradise. When a hulking boss monster tries to gank him from the shadows, our hero doesn't even flinch. He drops the beast in one clean strike, dinging level 3 and collecting a mountain of loot that would make a dragon green with envy. But this is where the game truly breaks, as he stares down at the boss's corpse. He unleashes the true power of gluttony. A storm of crimson lightning devours the monster, compressing its very essence into a single card, granting our boy a permanent frost physique and total cold resistance. It dawns on him. He literally just jacked the power of a demon king. While every other person on the planet is hard-locked to one class for life, our boy is now a living, breathing cheat code who can possess an infinite number of classes just by devouring his enemies. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet where the main course gives you godlike powers instead of a food coma. Just as he's vibing with his new power-up, a crushing wave of pressure slams into him like a freight train. A cloaked figure wrapped in more bandages than a mummy is just chilling at the tower's base, and it somehow knows our hero's name. This thing is an S-rank boss, and its stats are so off the charts that its mere presence is grinding our boy into the floor, just by existing. Even though the power gap is wider than the Grand Canyon, this bandaged freak keeps pulling his punches, just knocking our hero around without finishing the job. Then it gives our boy a twisted ultimatum. Either stay here and guard this demonic tower like some glorified doorman, or get turned into a fine red paste. Naturally, our hero chooses violence. He dissects the monster's movements with surgical precision, noticing a minuscule 0.4 second windup before every attack. He slips into that opening, weaving past the blade and driving his lightning-infused sword straight through the boss's core. The paralysis effect kicks in, buying him just enough time to activate lightning god speed, rocketing him 10 times faster toward a faint light in the distance. He thinks he's made a clean getaway, but as he smashes through the light, it shatters into nothing like a cheap hologram. The monster, who's apparently some high-ranking warrior from purgatory, just laughs off the attack and tells him the exit was nothing but a cruel illusion. This place isn't a demon lair. It's something far, far worse. The hooded figure actually seems more impressed than pissed off, noting that our hero can stare straight into the abyss of despair and still find a glimmer of hope, even when he's hopelessly outmatched. Turns out our hero didn't just stumble upon a training ground. He walked straight into a maximum security prison, and the warden is apparently a huge fan. It's hitting him hard and fast that busting out of this joint is going to require a lot more than a clever escape plan. Our guy has a lightning bolt realization while staring down the monster before him. A memory flashes the final apocalyptic battle from his past life, and it clicks that the demon king he fought back then could cycle through different high-level forms, like he was swapping character skins mid-fight. And guess what? This bandaged warrior was one of them. This means his gluttony power has essentially transformed our hero's soul into a high-security vault for demonic entities. This purgatory boss, who is way sharper than he looks, figures out that our hero is the only person capable of handling the tower's immense power. Without completely losing his sanity, the creature decides to offer up the keys to the entire kingdom, or in this case, a triple S rank key, for the demonic tower. He then drops a bombshell, revealing he's actually a traitor to the demon cause. Because the Demon King annihilated his entire race just to feed his own insatiable greed, he explains to our lightning-wielding hero. His mission: devour every single demon sealed within the tower, and use them as fuel to skyrocket to the pinnacle of the world. Our boy accepts the insane offer, a move that instantly catapults him to level 10, and blesses him with a set of dual swords, and a top-tier Star Warrior card. He vows to honor the monster's last wish, which is a seriously heavy promise to make. Before he's even had his morning coffee, he jolts awake in his dorm room, wondering if the entire ordeal was just a crazy fever dream. That is until he summons his system window and sees that level 10 stat staring right back at him. His injuries have vanished, and all the loot is safe in his inventory. And now he is officially done playing nice. Of course, the epic moment is completely shattered by his insufferable roommate, who is yet again on a massive ego trip. This dude struts around like he's a celebrity just because he's a middle-tier rank, an achievement he seems to think is the ultimate flex. He starts lecturing our hero on how the chasm between rank tiers is impossibly wide. He even boasts that he could dismantle 10 low rankers at the same time. It's frankly painful to watch someone be so proud of being just a tiny bit less mediocre than the other guys. The group eventually makes their way to the university for the official rank test ceremony. The atmosphere is thick, with a mix of raw nerves and way too much cheap cologne. The smug roommate is still spewing nonsense until that gang of bullies from yesterday decides to make a grand entrance. The roommate immediately tries to blend into the wall, but the moment the bullies spot our hero, they don't gear up for a fight. On the contrary, they practically slam their faces into the pavement, bowing and shouting that their big brother has finally shown up. The smug roommate looks like his brain just experienced a fatal system error, totally unable to compute why the school's favorite punching bag is suddenly getting treated like a legendary mob boss. Just as the roommate starts to wonder if our boy is secretly a big shot, a new wannabe villain enters the server. This guy is a student council officer, better known as the president's personal lapdog. He's a D-rank powerhouse who fancies himself a pro tracker, claiming he can literally sniff out malice. He marches straight up to our hero and tells him he stinks of a permanent bottom feeder, someone who has absolutely no business breathing the same air as the elites. Our boy just stands there with a look of pure boredom, because after facing down an S-rank purgatory warrior, a student council flunky with a god complex barely registers as a threat. He's just waiting for the right opportunity to finally show these amateurs what a real monster is made of. Our boy holds his ground unbothered. When the student council officer decides to try his hand at intimidation, this guy, who is essentially the president's attack dog, goes on about how he can smell the stench of a perpetual nobody all over our hero. But instead of being intimidated, our lightning lord just looks him dead in the eye and asks if he's part canine, given his obsession with sniffing everyone. The lapdog is about to completely snap and throw a punch, but the student council president himself intervenes, stepping in to play the part of the mature, composed leader. He concedes that his underling was the one who crossed the line and orders his lapdog to back off. Even so, he gives our hero a dismissive glance that makes it clear he considers him absolutely no threat whatsoever. The golden boy just sees our hero as some fortunate commoner who got in a few lucky hits, and he's positive they aren't even playing in the same league. The testing ceremony officially begins, and all the major players are watching from above. Positioned in a high-rise building, they gaze down upon the students like gods surveying their kingdom. The blonde vice president is there, along with the university principal, and while all the other VIPs are focused on the elite students, she confesses she's actually waiting to see what our hero is truly capable of. The test itself revolves around a custom-made demon heart that absorbs the energy of an awakener and projects it as raw data for everyone to witness. It's essentially a high-tech method for publicly shaming everyone for how utterly average they are, especially when compared to the top-tier prodigies. The first one from their dorm to step up is the annoying roommate, the same guy who was puffing out his chest and talking all that game just a day ago. He was dead set on the idea that he was a powerhouse, but the machine quickly revealed a different story. He's still slapped with a mid-tier rank, looking absolutely gutted as his dream of becoming a top-dog student just got totally torched for the entire school to see. And his roommates, they don't exactly kill it either, as they all score bottom-tier potential, basically signing them up to be literal NPCs for the rest of the series. The whole vibe changes when the actual heavy hitters show up. The president's #1 yes man manages to snag a low-tier D rank, which gets a solid round of applause from the crowd, but the real main event is the student council president himself. As the heir to a colossal guild, he decides to low-key sandbag it, holding back some of his true power, to save the real flex for graduation day. But even while nerfing himself, he utterly demolishes the school record by locking in a high-tier D rank, with a certified S rank potential. The audience is losing their minds, and the professors are already prepping the paperwork to declare him a national treasure to the state. It's his own personal victory lap, and this golden boy is basking in every single ounce of that spotlight. But right as the hype for Mr. President hits its absolute peak, the announcer calls the next student. It's time. Our boy is about to show this entire school that a lightning assassin from the future doesn't follow the same playbook as these campus elites. The blonde vice president leans forward, suddenly invested, and the principal is floored that she's even looking at a random nobody. The rest of the student body is about to learn that the F-lister they've been clowning on is about to shatter their prized machine and wreck their entire social ladder. Our boy approaches the heart, and the tension in the air is electric, crackling as our lightning lord prepares to make his move. And of course, the president's personal hype man has to run his mouth one last time. He taunts our guy, telling him to at least try to salvage some shred of honor for his dorm full of rejects, pleading with him not to post yet another humiliating E-rank score. He cackles about how a room full of bottom-tier trash is the university's running joke, and insists that for someone so pathetic, just showing up for the assessment is a complete embarrassment. But his four-eyed friend isn't hearing any of it, screaming back that our hero is about to shatter their tiny little worlds. He's officially our boy's #1 stan at this point, even if he has no idea what kind of monster he's actually rooting for. Our guy steps into the testing chamber, facing a colossal, throbbing demon heart that's waiting to pass judgment. This machine is supposed to be the final word on who has power. But the second our hero locks on with those glowing crimson eyes, the heart looks like it wants to quit on the spot. He knows that in this age, the only real path forward is getting recruited by a top-tier guild, and this graduation assessment is the only stage that counts. The winning team gets a golden ticket straight into the Imperial Guild, which is pretty much the exclusive club for the top 1% of Awakeners. While he's inside, the Golden Boy president is already on the sidelines, scouting his D-rank dream team, completely certain that the graduation trophy's already got his name etched on it. This dude is celebrating a lottery win without even buying the ticket. Meanwhile, back in the booth, our hero decides it's time to give the machine a proper heart attack. He kicks things off by activating his base level 10 form, and the system immediately clocks him at a high D rank. Outside, the crowd is absolutely shook, and the silence is so thick, you could hear a pin drop. But our boy, he's just getting warmed up and has zero intention of stopping there. He shifts into his Infernal Death King class, and the rank skyrockets to a mid-C rank. The machine starts to have a literal meltdown, spitting sparks everywhere as it scrambles to compute a power level it was never built to measure. The professors are completely baffled, wondering if the entire system is bugging out, or if the apocalypse just decided to start early. That's when our Lightning Lord stops messing around and unleashes his full purgatory form. A terrifying massive vortex rips open the sky right outside the building, making everyone in the courtyard believe the world is ending right here and now. The system starts shrieking about a triple S potential, a reading that's completely off the charts. Right before the demon heart fries itself into oblivion, unable to handle the sheer force of his aura, the professors burst in and find the machine totally cooked. But of course, their brilliant diagnosis is that it just died of old age and overwork. They can't even begin to process the reality that a single student just obliterated their most expensive piece of tech. But our hero gets the ultimate W. He secretly uses his gluttony power to devour the dead. Demon Heart unlocking a brand new skill that allows him to see the true power levels of everyone he looks at. Like he's got some kind of talent detecting X-ray vision. He steps back outside, scans the school's golden boy, only to it turns out the school president is actually a mid-tier powerhouse who's been sandbagging his real strength to maintain his humble genius persona. From our hero's perspective, the school's top student is painfully average, not even registering as a blip on his radar. The president's little sidekick immediately starts pointing fingers, trying to blame our guy for the broken machine and ruining the entire afternoon for everyone. He's throwing a full-on tantrum, screaming about compensation and taking responsibility, like our hero personally shredded his daily planner. But our guy is a split second from permanently shutting him up with a lightning bolt straight to the dome. Just as the ozone fills the air, the president glides in and pulls a move no one saw coming. He silences his lackey and then actually offers our hero a spot on his elite team for the graduation exam. He's going on about chasing the all-time high score, acting like he's doing our boy a huge favor, but the dude is completely clueless. He literally just invited a great white shark into his tiny, pathetic fishbowl. The Golden Boy president has the sheer audacity to personally recruit our hero to join his A-list squad for the final assessment. You could hear a pin drop as every other student in the vicinity just stares completely floored. Meanwhile, the lapdog is sweating buckets, fully aware that if our guy accepts, somebody is getting kicked to the curb. The sidekick is visibly fuming but forces a smile, trying to play it off like he's graciously welcoming our boy to the team. His phony greeting dies in his throat when our Lightning Lord just gives him a dead-eyed stare of pure disinterest. Then he flicks the dude's hand off his shoulder like he's brushing away a piece of lint. Our hero turns to the Golden Boy and flatly tells him he's not interested, sending a wave of pure shock through the entire courtyard. When the lapdog starts screeching about their squad being #1, our hero just deadpans, "You're noisy." He tells them both to get out of his face and then pivots, walking away with absolute finality. A total boss move. Cut to the rooftop where the blonde vice president and the principal are spectating this whole drama like it's the season finale of a reality TV show. The old man is a little bummed that the two heavy hitters aren't teaming up, but the VP knows this rejection was nothing less than a raw declaration of war. Back on the ground, Golden Boy is masking his rage with the plastic smile of a humble leader, but inside, he is absolutely raging. He mutters that even if there's a slim chance the test was accurate, he will never allow anyone to threaten his #1 spot. He tells his minion that whatever lessons he feels the need to teach our hero are his own business, which is pretty much the universal villain code for giving someone the green light to jump a guy in a dark alley. The lackey is practically giddy with excitement when he learns our hero skipped out of school early, thinking he's about to catch him at a vulnerable moment. But our hero is already deep in thought, mapping out the ultimate raid as he navigates the city streets. A crucial memory from his past life surfaces. An entire top-tier guild was completely wiped out on a specific floor of the demon realm, the exact incident that allowed the Demon King to descend and shatter the world. Our boy knows the precise location of that first world-ending boss, but he needs a serious mountain of capital to launch his counterattack. He pops into a monster exchange to sell off some loot, but the clerk is a total jerk who immediately writes him off as some broke student. Deeming him a waste of his oh-so-precious time, the arrogant clerk shoves our hero off onto a pink-haired newbie just to get him out of his sight. Our guy manages to get 18,000 for some low-level junk, which is just enough to solve his immediate rent problems. Then he decides to detonate the entire conversation by slamming his colossal S-rank purgatory swords onto the counter. The smug seller just bursts out laughing, boasting that in all his years he's never once seen an A-rank weapon, let alone a drop from a high-level dungeon. Abruptly, the shop's actual manager appears, a guy with green hair who nearly has a stroke on the spot. The moment he registers the quality of the blades, he instantly tells the arrogant clerk to shut his mouth. He reveals these aren't just some fancy fakes, they are authentic S-rank purgatory forged equipment. The entire atmosphere in the shop flips as the manager starts treating our hero with the reverence reserved for royalty. He immediately gestures for him to come to the VIP room to conduct some serious negotiations. Our hero just smirks internally. His gambit to lure out the big fish is playing out flawlessly. The prideful shopkeeper is left standing there looking like an absolute fool, while our hero prepares to make more in one afternoon than that guy will earn in his entire life. Our lightning lord strolls into the VIP room of the monster exchange. He carries himself with the kind of swagger that suggests he already holds the deed to the building. The green-haired manager and the pink-haired trainee are practically falling over each other, trying to make him comfortable. The manager asks what price our hero has in mind for the legendary weapon, and our boy coolly requests a loan of $1 million. The manager's brain practically short-circuits in his expensive leather chair. He has to actually stop and explain to our hero that an S-rank weapon is worth tens of millions and would cause an actual citywide stampede of hunters if it ever appeared on the public market. The manager is staring at our guy, his expression a wild mix of, is this dude a runaway royal, and has he completely lost his mind for underselling himself so hard? But our MC is playing 4D chess here. He has zero plans to actually sell this masterpiece. He lays it out. He just needs to use the blade as collateral to secure a fast loan, promising to have the cash back in 1 month plus 10% on top. Now this manager is no slouch, and the gears in his head are spinning. He instantly connects the dots our guy is betting on, the prize money, from the graduation exam to clear the loan. But instead of acting like some greedy corporate suit, the manager flips the script and counters with an insane offer. He slides $1.5 million in cold hard cash across the table. The catch, there is not one. Absolutely zero interest. This guy is essentially placing a high-stakes bet on our hero's future, a big brain move that completely clowns the arrogant clerk who tried to toss our guy out on the street. And just as he is heading for the exit, our boy decides to drop one last bombshell that sucks all the air out of the room. He casually reveals that, oh yeah, he has got a second S-rank sword just like this one chilling in his inventory. A perfect twin. The manager looks like his soul is about to leave his body. He is just now processing that he is not dealing with a prodigy. He is in the presence of an absolute demon, wearing human skin. On the flip side, the pink-haired employee who showed some basic human decency gets an instant level up to supervisor, just for possessing the common sense to treat our hero like a person. That smug clerk who was talking trash earlier, he is probably sobbing in the back room over the fat commission he just fumbled. Our hero, on the other hand, strolls out with his pockets officially overflowing with cash. He hops in a cab headed for the bus terminal, and as the city blurs by, his thoughts drift back to the darkness of his first life. He sees it all again, his sister forced to shelve her dreams of art school because they were so broke, just keeping the power on was a daily struggle. A cold determination settles over him. Never again. He will burn the world down before she ever has to choose between her art and their next meal. The bus doors hiss open and there she is, a whirlwind of chaotic energy just as loud and vibrant as he remembered. And without missing a beat, she immediately starts flaming him for waiting at the wrong door, then launches into a familiar rant about how their bank account is already crying now that this month's rent is paid. She is completely clueless that her broke older brother is now a top-tier hunter, with enough cash to buy their entire building. Just seeing her alive and breathing hits him like a freight train. He just yanks her into a hug so tight it nearly cracks her ribs. Utterly weirded out, she asks if he just got curved by a girl, or if he is having a full-on mental breakdown. He could not care less about the jabs, because all that matters is that she is here breathing and safe. Walking home, a silent promise forms in his mind. He would gladly dive headfirst into the abyss if it would shield her from the hellscape he knows is coming. But of course, this wholesome family moment is about to get crashed by some B-list wannabe villains, the student council's pet goon and his crew of knuckle-draggers. They are lurking in a dark alley, like the cockroaches they are plotting to jump our guy on his way home, to teach him a lesson about the food chain. They are moving with all this confidence, but these NPCs have no clue. They just brought a water pistol to a nuke fight. Our MC is about to give them a masterclass in what real killing intent feels like. The student council's top bootlicker is posted up in some grimy back alley with his posse, a bunch of guys who clearly have too much time on their hands and not enough going on upstairs. He is absolutely seething because our MC dared to exist, and even worse, outperform him in the exam. The game plan is simple. Rough him up so bad he cannot even show his face at the graduation test. In 2 weeks. This clown thinks his fancy title makes him a legendary killer, but in reality he is just a world-class pest, with a blade he probably cannot even hold right. He is visibly trembling with envy for the very same guy he dismisses as a bottom feeder, which is the definition of delusional. Meanwhile, our hero is strolling home with his ferocious little sister, who is in the middle of lecturing him on his sudden emotional outburst. She chalks it all up to exam stress and tells him to man up. Little does she know, her big bro is basically a human nuke now, a walking disaster who could vaporize their entire block without breaking a sweat. She even cracks a joke that he is getting old and hitting his midlife crisis a couple of decades early, since he is being all sentimental and suspiciously nice. He just takes the friendly fire with a smile. He gets it. This is just her unique abrasive way of showing she cares. Just then, the goons spot his sister and think, hey, an alley with 0 cameras. What a perfect spot to commit a felony. They try to be slick about it, but our lightning-wielding MC can smell their scummy intentions from a block away. He is not about to let his sister witness the impending beatdown. So, in the most clutch Big Brother move ever, he gently places his earbuds over her ears, tells her to blast a certain song on loop, and says he just needs to handle something real quick. She is a bit baffled, but shrugs and gets lost in the music, completely oblivious to the absolute massacre about to unfold just 2 inches behind her. And so while his fierce little sister is vibing to a song about destiny and the stars, our hero turns around, is busy decommissioning these budget-level thugs. He's personally insulted they had the nerve to crash his first family hangout in 7 years. He starts dishing out free knuckle sandwiches, treating the entire squad like gnats that he needs to grind into the dirt. The music pounds away in our girl's ears while her brother is in the shadows, literally shattering skulls, and acting as a one-man security detail for the most important person in his world. He's a blur of motion. The goons probably think they got caught in a flash flood of fists. The head lackey finally grasps that he is completely out of his league and tries one final pathetic move, shouting that he's the top assassin in the entire academy. It goes about as horribly as you can imagine, a total and utter failure. Our hero cracks him clean in the jaw twice, sending his teeth into early retirement and shattering his fighting spirit. He looms over the broken wannabe villain with an absolutely chilling glare, asking if he was speaking gibberish, when he warned them to never cross his path again. Pro tip, when an assassin who moves like lightning tells you to get lost, you should probably take the advice if you value the current arrangement of your face. Our boy is so done playing around with these wannabe bullies, and he's more than ready to get his sister home for dinner. We snap back to the alley, where the student council's #1 henchman is having a serious what went wrong moment with his life. Our protagonist just finished rearranging the guy's internal organs, but he's got one last piece of the message to deliver. He stares down at the crumpled pile of a man with a gaze so frigid it could give hell frostbite, and asks the guy if he's having trouble understanding the simple phrase, "Stay away from me." The attacker is laid out with a pair of broken legs, struggling to compute how a supposed F-tier student just hit him with the momentum of a bullet train. He realizes with dawning horror that the whispers were true. Our hero is a straight-up monster, but before the shock can knock him out, our boy shoves a knife under his chin and commands total silence. He hisses that if this scum, or any of his pathetic friends, even think about looking in his sister's direction again, he will hunt them all down. And he's not being metaphorical. He puts a small slice on the guy's lip to punctuate his point, promising to permanently erase their existence if they ever try him again. He drops the punk back onto the asphalt and strolls off, leaving the henchman paralyzed not by the beatdown but by the pure, terrifying, killing intent pouring off a high school kid. Meanwhile, our adorably savage little sister is still right there, headphones firmly in place, getting lost in a song about soaring birds and melancholy skies. The melody gets to her, and her eyes start to water. Because she's hit with a sudden wave of empathy, her brother feels impossibly alone, as if he's carrying the weight of 100 lifetimes of sadness. She whips around to give him hell for taking some prank way too far, but instead of a chaotic mess, She finds our boy standing there calmly, holding a small, classy-looking box. He offers a gentle smile as if he didn't just brutalize 3 guys, and hands her the gift. Inside is a brilliant gold holographic art pen. Our girl's eyes go wide. She knows it's the latest release. From Draco, a brand that costs over $10,000. She stammers, asking how in the world he got the money for this, but our hero just smiles. In his past life, their crushing poverty made her abandon her passion for art. But in this one, he is going to give her everything her heart desires. We cut to their apartment, where the little artist is ecstatically sketching 3D light sculptures in the air, while our boy kicks back with a bowl of instant noodles. She is over the moon about the gift, but quickly shifts into practical sister mode, demanding to know how they're supposed to afford rent if he's out there making it rain like a rap mogul. Our boy then casually drops the nuke that he already took care of the rent for the entire next year. He tries to spin a tale about launching a small business with a pal, but honestly, our hero put all his skill points into ass-kicking and left his deception stat at absolute 0. His sister knows he's being shady as hell, but seeing him genuinely happy for the first time in what feels like an eternity stops her from pressing him. She just rests a hand on his shoulder and tells him to please be safe, choosing to just accept this victory for their family. But as the siblings enjoy this rare peaceful moment, the villains are busy being extra in a dark room filled with glowing aquariums. The student council president is intensely watching a fish as he receives the update that his little attack dog has 60% of his bones fractured. The blonde vice president remarks that the goon will be out of commission for the graduation exam, but the golden boy is completely unfazed. He claims his team is stronger without any dead weight showing once again, that his loyalty is about as real as a $3 bill. A director with a truly awful mustache then enters the room to stir things up. He delivers the news our boy is now officially registered as a C rank, which makes him the only student in the whole academy with a higher rank than the president. He warns the golden boy that a top-tier VIP from the Alliance is coming to watch the exam, and if he embarrasses the school by getting clapped by a nobody, his presidential seat might just get reassigned. The president, however, is absolutely dripping with self-importance. He laughs off the suggestion, boasting that he's barely even trying. He glares into a fish tank, watching a shark devour its prey, and vows to reveal who the true apex predator is on exam day. It's a textbook villain speech, but man, he is really feeling himself. Meanwhile, back at the dorms, our MC wraps up a chill 100-kilometer run with weights attached, treating it like a casual evening walk. He's crunching the numbers in his mind, plotting to snag the 1 million yuan prize at graduation to finally clear his debt with Kevin. He knows he needs to grind a few more levels before the main event, so he figures it's time to finally use that mysterious key the system gave him. He materializes the SSS Rank Time Raft Key, the one and only object that can crack open the gates to the Tower of Darkness. Standing before a colossal menacing door in his dreamscape, he's ready to discover if his alternate classes are as ridiculously overpowered as his current one. He shoves the massive gates open, steps into the great unknown, and prepares for the grind. If you're vibing with the story so far, do me a solid and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a huge boost for the algorithm. All set, dope. Let's dive back in. Our boy crosses the threshold and is hit with a wave of instant regret. He hasn't stepped into a loot room. He's stumbled into a physics hellscape known as fallen stars. The gravity here is jacked up to 10 times the normal intensity, which means simply standing feels like he's carrying a sedan on his shoulders. He quickly calculates that he can only access about 30% of his total power, which is a massive problem because a phantom lion is charging straight at him. With murder in its eyes, he tries to activate his lightning assassin class, betting that pure speed is his only way out. But under this insane gravitational force, he's not a flash of lightning. He's just a slow-moving target. He narrowly dodges, but his own attacks just bounce off. His paralysis skills are completely useless, and the lion sinks its teeth into his arm, tearing a chunk out. Our hero realizes that trying to be a speedster in a gravity well is a total rookie mistake, so he's forced to switch up his strategy. He shifts into his purgatory ox form. If he can't be fast, he'll be an immovable object. This warrior class triples his raw strength and quadruples his stamina, effectively turning him into a living, breathing tank. He has a sudden epiphany in an environment with crushing gravity that downward force is his most powerful ally. He slams the lion flat against the floor and unleashes a punch that harnesses the insane gravity to multiply its impact by 60 times. He absolutely obliterates the beast. The ground itself shatters from the force, rewarding him with a level up and a shiny new monster bone. Our boy stands there, gasping for air. He's feeling pretty good, thinking he just wiped the floor with the main boss, but his victory high evaporates as the dust settles, and he sees 5 more of those lions glaring right back at him. The system never gave him a devourer option because that wasn't a boss. That was just a minion. He understands far too late that the Purgatory Tower isn't a training facility, it's a personalized torture dimension. The pack swarms him in an instant, ripping him to shreds as the system coldly informs him that pain is the only real teacher here. He jolts awake in his dorm screaming, completely drenched in a cold sweat. The physical injuries have vanished, but the phantom agony of being eaten alive is still seared into his mind. He gets it now. There are no shortcuts to real power. You have to walk through hell itself to claim it. The scene cuts to the university auditorium, where the villains are shamelessly plotting in plain sight. The director, looking smug, is on the stage. He's announcing that the rules for the graduation exam have been altered. Apparently, some VIPs from the Guild Alliance will be watching the stream, so they have to spice things up for the viewers. The new requirement is that every team must have a minimum of 5 members, and one must be a high E rank or better. The students start buzzing, guessing this is all for show, but then the official ranking list flashes on their screens, and that's when the sabotage drops. The director has blatantly cooked the books. Our boy pulls up his own profile and sees he's been officially downgraded to a low E rank. The room immediately erupts in whispers. Every single one of them saw him destroy the test machine, but because a digital file now says he's trash, that becomes their new reality. The gossip spreads like wildfire. The machine must have been faulty after all, and our hero becomes socially radioactive. His glasses-wearing roommate looks utterly confused, but the rest of the class is already treating our boy like he doesn't exist. The consensus is that nobody will risk carrying dead weight through the exam, especially now that he's been publicly shamed. They're actually laughing, saying he must be regretting turning down the president's offer, now that he's hit rock bottom again. Up on the stage, the director wears a self-satisfied smirk. It turns out he's the student council president's uncle, and he's decided to teach his nephew's little rival a harsh lesson in political power plays. He's certain he's just checkmated our hero. By making it logistically impossible for him to even form a qualifying team, he's convinced he's a strategic genius. But he has no clue that he just poked a sleeping dragon. The auditorium has descended into complete and utter chaos. It looks less like an academic event, and more like a Black Friday stampede, where the only prize is the student council president's attention. Students are practically climbing over each other, screaming out offers that range from just sad to genuinely alarming. One guy is begging to be the team's dedicated healer. Another is promising to be their personal luggage carrier, and one particularly down bad student literally offers to be the president's loyal errand dog. It's a public train wreck, an absolute tragedy, and the president is basking in every agonizing second of it like a lizard on a hot rock. Meanwhile, over in the corner of shame, our boy and his 3 roommates are radiating the exact opposite energy. They're practically toxic. The roommate with glasses is absolutely hammering his calculator, crunching the numbers again and again, praying that the laws of math might just bend for them, but reality hits like a truck. They're one man short, and with our hero's rank doctored to a pathetic E, nobody with a single functioning brain cell wants to board their sinking ship. Just when the vibe couldn't sink any lower, a crew of 4 guys wanders over, but they ain't here to lend a hand. They're on the hunt. The leader of this little posse completely blanks the roommates, locking eyes with our boy and telling him to ditch the dead weight and join a squad that matters. It's a classic dirtbag move, fully expecting our hero to sell out his boys for a better grade. But before our protagonist can even fire back a comeback, his massive roommate plants himself in front of them like a concrete wall. He tells the vultures to get lost, declaring their dorm has a code. They ride together or they fail together. It's a raw display of loyalty that makes the student council's plastic handshakes look even more pathetic. Our boy's eyes drift to the director smirking on stage, and the pieces finally slam into place. The director shares a last name with the president. This isn't just bad luck, it's a full-blown nepotism plot, engineered specifically to make him crash and burn. He realizes playing by the rules is a complete joke because the game is rigged, so he decides to shatter the whole game board. He starts prepping to issue a duel challenge with a simple plan to physically dismantle the president in front of everyone and bypass the team requirement altogether. Violence is always a valid answer, but right as he's about to unleash hell, the doors of fate swing open. The blonde vice president, the infamous Ice Queen herself, steps into the light. Her voice cuts through the murmuring like a razor as she calls out, asking if our boy's team is still looking for one more member. The entire hall goes dead silent. You could hear a pin drop on cotton. The Golden Boy president looks like he just chugged spoiled milk. He cannot compute why the elite exchange student would reject his all-star roster to join the bottom of the barrel squad. The director immediately starts sweating bullets. He stumbles to the microphone, sputtering that she's an exchange student and is therefore ineligible to rescue this dumpster fire. He smirks, thinking he's won, but then the principal materializes from the shadows. The old man plays the part of the kind, wise grandfather, nodding along with the regulations, before trapping the director in a verbal checkmate. He asks loudly if excluding students is really a good look for the academy's reputation, staring the director down with a look that screams, "I know what you did." Cornered by his boss in the court of public opinion, the director crumbles to save his own skin. He's forced to announce a special exception. He proclaims that for this year only teams with fewer than 5 members, or with low-ranking students, can compete. He tries to spin it as an act of mercy, but everyone knows he just got completely owned. The team is officially locked in, and our hero is named the captain. His roommates let out a massive collective sigh of relief, figuring the nightmare is done, and they can just pick some cakewalk dungeon to survive. But they're forgetting who their captain is. The scene shifts to the dungeon selection phase. While other teams are deep in strategic debate, our boy locks in his choice instantly. No hesitation, no vote, just one decisive click. The roommates look up at the giant screen, and the color drains from their faces. Glasses guy starts screaming, asking if our boy has completely lost his mind. A wave of shock washes over the entire hall. Our hero just stares at the screen with a calm, confident smile, while his friends slowly realize they've just been signed up for a difficulty level that has no right to exist. The graduation battle exam is finally underway, and this is the first time these students are walking into a real dungeon, not some training wheels classroom simulation. The rules are simple but savage. Scoring is a mathematical nightmare. Clearing a floor nets you 10 points, but for every monster left standing, the instructors will shave a point off your final score. The big ticket item is the boss fight, worth a whopping 20 points, but you have to move fast because the clock is a cruel master. If a team takes longer than 1 hour, the system starts chipping away at their score every 5 minutes like some predatory loan shark. To make things even spicier, each dungeon rank comes with a score multiplier. Choosing a safe F-rank dungeon will max you out at 75 points, while the riskier E rank can score you a clean 100. The ultimate prize for all this pain is a golden ticket into the Imperial Guild and a 1 million yuan cash prize for the class MVP. The current all-time record is 90 points, held by an absolute legend of a former student who now runs the most dominant guild in the country. The word on the street is you need a crew of top-tier killers just to survive in your designated rank, so everyone's just assuming the Golden Boy president is the only one who has a prayer of even touching that record. But while everyone else is still freaking out over their options, a single chime cuts through the hall. Our guy has already slammed his choice into the system, and the room is thrown into a stunned silence. This wasn't just some hard mode pick. He locked in a D-rank challenge, one that no student has ever actually cleared before. The entire school is collectively losing its mind, with everyone speculating if his finger slipped on the keyboard, or if he's just having a complete mental breakdown in public. His four-eyed sidekick is vibrating with enough raw anxiety to power a small city, grabbing our hero and demanding to know if he's officially lost his mind. The rest of the squad is equally horrified, trying to figure out how they just got drafted into a suicide mission, led by an absolute madman. One teammate is already digging through the fine print, looking for any possible way to ditch the team and save his own neck, but the chaos is only getting started. Seeing our hero's absolute power move, the student council president decides there's no way he's getting shown up. He locks his own team into a D-rank dungeon, sending the entire crowd into a full-blown frenzy. To all the other students, our protagonist's team just looks like a bunch of clout-chasing randos. They're all convinced the squad will completely implode before they even get near the dungeon entrance, especially since our hero's crew was basically scraped together from the absolute dregs of the student body. However, the four-eyed sidekick has a sudden change of perspective. He glances at our hero and sees it irradiating stone-cold confidence that was never there before. He decides that since they've already put up with 4 years of being the school's designated punching bags, he might as well ride with our hero until the very end. Even the arrogant mage roommate, who still thinks he's the king of the castle, decides to go all in and embrace the madness. Since graduation is right around the corner anyway, our lightning lord gives his team a rare, genuine apology, admitting he dragged them into a death trap just to secure his own MVP title. But he promises them they're gunning for the #1 spot. This declaration sparks a tense stare-down with the student council president, who informs our hero that in this school there's only room for one person at the top. The blonde vice president watches the whole scene play out from the sidelines, noting that the beef between the underdog and the golden boy is now officially on. Meanwhile, up on the observation deck, the principal and the vice principal are in the middle of a heated debate about our boy's cockiness. Even with a 3 times multiplier and a possible max score of 150, the difficulty curve of a D-rank dungeon is a straight vertical line. The principal is highly doubtful, believing it's a fantasy for a bunch of low-tier students to overcome that kind of power deficit in the 17 days remaining before the exam. While all the other teams are busy using the school's fancy-pants combat simulators, our protagonist has his team out in the dirt grinding through the most brutal workout session of their lives. We're talking non-stop shuttle runs, wind sprints, and carrying massive logs like they're training for Hell Week instead of a magic exam. The four-eyed sidekick is totally gassed, complaining about why they aren't practicing their elemental magic. But our hero shuts that down instantly. He tells them the simulators are nothing more than glorified video games and that the moment the paralyzing fear from a real monster washes over you, your brain forgets every single theory it ever learned. He's training their raw physical instincts, so their bodies will move before their minds have a chance to freeze up. He knows the elite students have spent their entire lives training in private dungeons, while kids like them were stuck watching from the outside. For our hero, this exam is more than just a grade. It's his one shot to shatter the social hierarchy and finally knock the privileged kids off their pedestal. With 15 days until go time, our protagonist is spending his nights in the Dream Tower, taking a masterclass in getting wrecked from the Starfall Barons. These high-level jaguars are currently using him as a glorified scratching post, but even as he's getting slammed across the floor, he keeps fighting back like his life depends on it, because it absolutely does. 10 days before the exam, the rest of the team is finally feeling the burn. Our hero leads them through a training regimen that's looking less like after-school practice and more like a military recruitment ad with him sprinting out front. With a backpack loaded down with enough weight to sink a small boat, his roommates are lagging far behind in a state of such pure exhaustion it looks like their eyeballs are sweating. While our boy heads back to the tower to grind more monsters into experience points, the Golden Boy president is in a low-level dungeon doing his own warm-up. He's busy vaporizing a pack of mushroom mobs, looking incredibly pleased with himself for styling on the weakest enemies in the game. 5 days before the deadline, the training has officially hit the level of a high-intensity fitness commercial. Our hero is effortlessly banging out one-handed push-ups with a stack of weights on his back, and even his roommates have evolved from whining to actually putting in the work. By the time there are only 2 days left, our hero officially dings level 16, forging himself into a top-tier assassin by spending his final nights turning ferocious tigers into luxury decor. As dawn breaks on June 17th, year 157, our protagonist stares down the horizon and declares that the real war is just getting started. The graduation combat exam officially ignites, with a tiny escort drone zipping around like a hyper-caffeinated gnat to broadcast the regulations. Our hero and his crew roll up looking like a whole new squad, completely transformed with a serious glow-up. Rocking physiques so chiseled, they look like they have muscles on their muscles. As they run a final gear check, the absolute titans of the hero world begin to make their entrance. Arriving in impeccable style, the school's principal is deep in host mode, personally greeting a man in slick shades with a cigarette dangling from his lips, who just so happens to be the co-founder of the infamous Imperial Guild. And get this guy is none other than the student council president's father, which basically confirms their family business is just being built different. The students are absolutely losing it as the VIPs file in, but the real showstopper is a man with a mane of blazing red hair, named Carl Cavendish. This isn't just some big shot. He's the vice chairman of the Guild Alliance, a living legend, so powerful that most people have only ever seen him in history vids or on a high-def newsfeed. The fact that he even came to a student exam is the equivalent of a Hollywood superstar showing up to judge a middle school talent show. He's accompanied by Secretary General Sue, a woman with a severe ponytail and sharp glasses, who radiates an aura of zero tolerance for failure, while the students are practically buzzing out of their skin with excitement. Just dreaming of getting scouted by the Guild Alliance, the VIPs slip into the observation room to watch the chaos unfold across a massive wall of monitors. The director of questionable choices is back on the broadcast, practically giddy as he breaks down the stats for his guests. Out of 28 teams, the overwhelming majority picked the safe and sound F-rank dungeons, mostly because they had a healthy attachment to, being alive. A mere 3 squads were bold enough for E-rank, and a tiny insane minority of 2 teams, which includes our hero's crew and the Golden Boys, decided to charge headfirst into a D-rank meat grinder. Secretary General Sue is immediately throwing shade, pointing out that D-rank lairs are a nightmare even for seasoned professional guilds. She questions if the students were adequately briefed, that they were signing up to be cannon fodder, but the director just casually waves off her concern. He clarifies that, while an F-rank boss is a serious struggle for these rookies, the E-rank dungeons represent a totally different dimension of suffering. Inside an E-rank dungeon, every single trash mob is as powerful as an F-rank boss. We cut to a team of students deep inside one, currently frozen in terror before a pack of grotesque stag beetle spiders, the grim realization hitting them that they've made a catastrophic mistake. The director reassures the VIPs that safety protocols are in place, complete with emergency teleportation, opt-out respawns for anyone who taps out, and Imperial Guild operatives on standby. But behind that calm facade, he's smirking, eagerly waiting to see how long the D-rank prodigies can hold out before they break down and scream for a rescue. The action cuts to the Cloud Forest Summit, a D-rank dungeon that looks like a tragically beautiful place to get murdered. Our hero's squad is instantly welcomed by a ghost, Bat Monkey, a cloud-type beast that specializes in dive-bombing its victims with lethal aerial speed. The thing is straight out of a horror movie, and the team's resident coward is already questioning every life choice that led him to this exact moment. Our protagonist doesn't miss a beat, roaring for his team to scatter, just as the creature plummets toward them in a high-velocity blur. Thanks to all those agonizing weeks of stamina conditioning, the entire team actually manages to evade the blitz, leaving them in a state of breathless disbelief that they're not a red paste on the ground. But while they're having a quick, we're not dead party, our main character decides playtime is over. In a flash, he zips through the trees and instantly deletes 3 D-rank monsters from existence. The rest of his team can only stand there, jaws scraping the floor, watching him treat these high-level monsters like he's swatting a few annoying flies. After casually vaporizing a few more beasts, our hero pauses to check on his squad and drop a reality check that's dripping with acid. He tells them flat out that their current power level couldn't beat a paper cut in a fight, so their only job is to focus on not dying while he does all the actual work. Before they can even fire back a response, our guy is on the move again, turning the cavern into a certified graveyard while his teammates are left standing there, looking like useless, stunned NPCs. The group's self-appointed leader is experiencing a full-blown existential crisis as he processes the scene, the horrifying truth dawning on him that their hellish training wasn't for the hero's sake, it was a charity mission to keep the rest of them from being turned into monster food. For the guy who thought he was the big shot back at the dorms, this is a crushing blow, and he's now painfully aware that he's being hard-carried to graduation by a living, breathing cheat code. As more ghost bat monkeys launch themselves at our boy, he systematically dismantles them with the kind of cold-blooded efficiency you would expect from a battle-scarred veteran, not a student on his final exam. The team's fire user watches him move and realizes the wild rumors from the other students weren't just hype. They didn't even scratch the surface. Our hero doesn't look like a graduate. He looks like someone who has spent a lifetime at war, turning past traumas into distant memories. The team leader's pride is absolutely shattered, his jaw clenched so tight he's practically grinding his teeth to dust as he realizes he's been totally outclassed. But his pity party gets cut short when a hulking ape decides to crash the event, sneaking up right behind them. One of his teammates screams out a warning, but the dorm leader finally finds his courage, leaping forward to intercept the beast with a roaring blast of fire. He decides then and there that they are done standing around like decorations, while our hero solos the entire dungeon. After all, this is their graduation exam too. Sparked by this sudden display of guts, the rest of the squad dives into the fight. The group's resident plantmancer attempts to snare the monster with a vine lock, but the ape is clearly not a fan of salad and instantly shreds the trap. As the vine user stands there in total shock, the team's genius slides in, firing off a frost breeze to slow the monster's advance and calling for a combo. It's a full-on group effort now, as they begin layering their abilities, fusing the frost and vines to finally pin the raging beast in place. The fire mage sees his opening and starts blasting his nuclear mage flame bullets like he's trying to win the grand prize at a carnival game. He's sweating bullets, screaming about how ridiculously tanky the monster is before finally deciding to go all in. He summons every last drop of his power into one final massive flame bullet that looks like it holds a personal grudge against this monkey. A nearby drone hovers over, chirping a cheerful congratulations, and confirming they actually managed to score a kill. The 3 teammates immediately collapse to the ground, looking like they just ran a marathon through a volcano. But they are absolutely beaming with pride. They just survived an encounter that should have been impossible for them. The fire mage immediately looks to our hero for praise, bragging that the kill was easy despite looking like he's about to cough up a lung. Our boy just offers them a genuine smile, and a good job perfectly playing the part of the proud mentor. The drone's voice echoes, announcing that all hostiles in the cave have been neutralized, sending the entire observation room into a state of shocked silence. The director stares blankly at the monitors, trying to figure out how a squad of supposed no-names with 0 field experience just cleared the dungeon. Those monsters were leagues above their rank, while the student council president's father just sits there stewing in a silent, thunderous fury. The principal, on the other hand, is grinning like he just hit the jackpot. Even the mysterious S-rank warden sitting silently in the back finally leans forward with interest, remarking that our hero's performance is nothing short of brilliant, and that he bears an uncanny resemblance to an old friend from his past. Back in the control room, the VIP's eyes lock onto the screen, and he declares that he remembers this boy. Hearing this massive endorsement from a top-tier figure, the president's father and the director look like they just swallowed poison. Panicking as their carefully planned showcase gets hijacked, the director frantically tries to wrestle the room's attention back to their golden boy. He's practically begging them, pointing desperately at the other monitor. On that second screen, the student president's squad is absolutely demolishing their way through the high-risk Gloomvine Grotto dungeon. The ponytail girl on his team is gushing over their flawless coordination, claiming they look just like a professional raiding party. The VIP offers a polite nod, acknowledging that this year's graduating class is certainly filled with impressive talent. The director flashes a greasy, self-satisfied grin, smugly thinking that the Times real-time show is just getting started. Down in the grotto, it's a total botanical beatdown. This girl absolutely shreds a chord on her guitar, and this sonic wave just erupts instantly, shriveling a whole mob of rampaging mushroom fiends. Her partner immediately follows, unleashing a flash of purple astral fusion that rips every overgrown vine from the walls and piles them up perfectly. And finally, the student president steps forward to claim all the glory. He unleashes a devastating searing fracture strike that vaporizes the entire mob in one fluid, almost rehearsed motion. One of his teammates watches this picture-perfect takedown and suddenly realizes that these are the exact times, same monsters they spent weeks grinding against in private training. He comes to the hilarious conclusion that the Gong family completely rigged the exam in their favor, but hey, he's not about to complain. Because life is just objectively better when you're coasting on the coattails of the rich and influential. He starts fantasizing about an easy ride all the way to the championship, a dream that's violently shattered when another teammate shouts that it's time to face the boss. At the same time, our hero and his squad are freezing their butts off trekking through a blizzard. Reaching the peak of Cloudwood Summit, one teammate is just staring in awe, completely baffled that their team of so-called failures actually made it to the top. They start celebrating the easy clear of a D-rank dungeon, but their victory lap gets cut brutally short. When a colossal Frostruff ape smashes onto the scene, Glasses Guy lays his eyes on the colossal beast and starts bugging out, completely convinced they've stumbled into the final boss's lair. Another squadmate chimes in, saying a single swipe from that monstrosity would unalive them 10 times over. The ape's gaze locks onto them, and Glasses Guy unleashes a blood-curdling scream as the creature barrels straight for them. While the rest of the team scatters like spooked birds, our main character stands his ground, completely unbothered. He doesn't brace for the hit. Instead, he takes a casual step forward and decks the gigantic ape right across the jaw. The hulking creature is sent flying backward like a rag doll, and before it can even register the sheer disrespect, our boy flash steps and dices it into a million pieces. Glasses Guy just stares at the fresh ape confetti, his brain rebooting as he questions his entire reality. Our MC checks his system window, feeling seriously let down by the pop-up announcing a measly 200 experience points and some generic fur. He's genuinely baffled, wondering why a supposed dungeon boss would drop such trash-tier loot. Suddenly, a teammate spots the real prize. He points to a massive shimmering cluster of monocrystals hidden inside a cavern wall. The guy's eyes go wide as he gawks at the oversized gems, deciding they have to be high-tier meteor crystals. He's practically drooling, thinking about how selling them would make the entire team rich for life. Our MC's danger sense goes haywire, and he screams at him to get back, but the greedy teammate's fingers are already grazing the glittering loot. The moment he makes contact, the crystal explodes in a flash of blinding light. Turns out the shiny treasure was actually a massive high-level Arctic Nova trap. In a split second, the spell detonates, flash freezing our guy, his crew, and even the camera drone into solid statues of ice. Up in the observation deck, the video feed for our boys' team cuts to black. The director strokes his mustache, a smug grin plastered on his face as he silently congratulates himself on the rookie squad falling for his trap. He scoffs internally, thinking that scrubs will always be scrubs, and that their little graduation test has officially reached its end. A VIP guest turns to the director, noting that the students are now stuck in an extremely perilous spot. The director immediately puts on his deeply concerned face, agreeing that rescuing the students is their #1 priority, and proposing they dispatch the guild rescue team right away, a move that would conveniently get our boys' team disqualified. Before he can hit the big red button, the principal casually intervenes, suggesting they give the students a bit more time. He flashes a sly grin, pointing out that the kids' life-monitoring wristbands are showing perfectly normal vitals. On top of that, their neural data shows absolutely zero intention of quitting the exam. He declares firmly that the choice to forfeit rests entirely with the students. Back down in the frozen hellscape of the dungeon, Glasses Guy is the only one who isn't a human popsicle. He's shivering violently, slowly piecing together that his own cloud-class magic provided just enough innate cold resistance to survive the explosion. As his teeth chatter, he looks up and sees a horrifying, new silhouette emerging from the gloom. He's staring at a towering skeletal mage, and the awful realization dawns on him: the ape was just a weak decoy. This bony nightmare is the true master of the dungeon. Now all alone with the glacial dungeon, Lord Glasses Guy frantically scans his mental monster database and realizes they're facing a frostbound Lich King. His mind races, identifying it as a rare C-rank monster specializing in wide-area ice magic knockbacks, and deriving some sick joy from tormenting its prey. Connecting the dots, he figures out that the massive Arctic explosion was a calculated trap sprung by this skeletal horror. He knows he has zero chance of soloing a monster so far above his pay grade, so he makes a desperate dash toward our boy's frozen figure. Mid-sprint, the monster's attack slams into his left calf. His survival wristband instantly flares to life, like a blaring alarm flashing a critical injury warning and aggressively prompting him to withdraw. He screams his refusal and fights through the searing pain. Reaching the ice, he pours his mana out, casting a flawless origin spell to channel purifying energy into our boy desperately trying to negate the freeze effect. The Lich isn't having any of it, and attacks again, savaging his right arm and causing the purification spell to fizzle out. The bony menace cackles as the wristband goes into a full-blown panic, reading his skyrocketing heart rate, and the second critical wound while practically begging him to give up. Ignoring the frantic warnings, Glasses Guy has a life-changing epiphany. He internally swears that his lifelong career of running away is officially over. He is so done with being the butt of the joke, the humiliated weakling who always gets left behind. He risked everything, against impossible odds just to get into this exam, and there is no reality where he's throwing away his one shot to change his future. With the Lich diving in for the killing strike, he gambles everything, dumping his last ounce of power into a second purification spell. A deafening crack rips through the cavern as the ice explodes. Our boy erupts from his frozen prison already a blur, as his Godspeed ability kicks into overdrive, to yoink the Glasses Guy out of the kill zone before the monster can even process what's happening. The Lich is just standing there, completely shook, while our hero carefully places his friend behind a massive boulder, sweating absolute bullets. Barely even conscious Specs cracks a weak smile, joking that our totally OP protagonist was going to bust out of there on his own anyway. But our boy shuts that noise down with 100% sincerity, telling his teammate for real that his distraction was absolutely clutch right before inspecting his bleeding wounds. The psychic swears he's fine, and immediately starts speedrunning the Lich's terrifying abilities, warning him that they absolutely cannot risk getting flash frozen a second time. Floating above the Lich decides it's done, playing with its dinner, and begins to channel a new spell, one with enough raw power to trigger a miniature ice age. The Glasses Guy just about has a heart attack, staring at the sheer scale of the Gigafrost Nova, realizing that their dodge roll spam isn't going to save them from an attack with that kind of area of effect. The skeleton cackles like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, just as it unleashes the apocalyptic ice nuke. But instead of freaking out, our boy just calmly taps into his class change, transforming into his Gravehound King persona. This move instantly cloaks him in a frosty aura, giving him total immunity to all cold-based attacks. The Lich's jaw metaphorically hits the floor as its ultimate attack does a whole lot of nothing. The Glasses Guy is just as stunned, his entire understanding of reality shattering in an instant. He's struggling to figure out how a lightning-based assassin suddenly developed a complete immunity to ice, figuring our boy must be some legendary one-in-a-million dual-class freak. Looking down at his injured friend, our hero apologizes, with a grim expression taking full responsibility for underestimating this dungeon and walking his team into a death trap. He declares with ice in his veins that the games are officially over. Hitting that class change button one last time, he erupts into a glowing magenta-hued form. He materializes a colossal greatsword and prepares to turn this smug bag of bones into fine powder. Hey, thanks for sticking with me to the very end. If you enjoyed the recap, do me a solid and smash that like button, and let me know what your favorite moment was down in the comments. I'll catch you in the next video for even more.